all 20 of his campaigns with the Houston Astros. The 49-year-old man saying after being called about his election, quote, "I was so excited, I was crying, I ain't going to lie. I was an emotional mess when it happened. Then I asked him if it was a prank phone call." Oh, man. Gotta love this kid. 3,060 hits in 20 big league seasons. Missed it by two votes last year. I mean, 2 agonizing votes. He got into it with at least 42 more votes than necessary. And well, if you look at this if you look at Craig Biggio's numbers over the years, I mean, it just amazing. A 281 batting average with 291 home runs, easily among the best among second basemen in the history of the game. 1,175 RBIs, an on-base percentage of .363, slugging .433, and, oh yeah, by the way, a member of the 2005 National League pennant champions, first in team history. Yeah, he's come a long way. But it's a well-deserved honor. The kid from Smithtown, New York, went to Seton Hall. You show me somebody the size of Craig Biggio that can do what he did over 20 years with the same team. And I can show you a gang of infielders double his size, willing to give their right arm just to even get into the big show. It doesn't matter how big or small you are you willing to put in the work? Craig Biggio put in the work, and here he is, Hall of Famer. Congratulations, young man. Two of the members of this year's Hall of Fame are former Montreal Expos. Randy Johnson, the big 6'9" from Cali, being one of them. Johnson, who last pitched for the San Francisco Giants, 303 career wins with a 3.29 ERA, just a shade under 5,000 strikeouts. Started his career in Montreal. Later picked up big-time fame with Seattle. Had a season with Houston. Later had that great run with the Arizona Diamondbacks in which he and Hall of Famer to be Curt Schilling won the MVP the year that they won the World Series. Which, if my memory serves me correctly, was 2002. As a matter of fact, Johnson had 2 stints with the Yankees. Before finishing up with the San Francisco Giants. Dominating performance by arguably one of the tallest pitchers in the history of this game. 6'9" out of USC. Believe it or not, former college teammate of Mark McGwire, who I can safely say is not going to make the Hall, either eligibility-wise or veterans-wise, unless they just have a change of heart. That's what happens when you dance with the devil. 22 years in the big leagues. Made numerous All-Star appearances. Matter of fact, he made 8 of them. 5-time Cy Young winner. And, yeah, I was correct. 2001 World Series co-MVP with Curt Schilling. Second-round draft pick back in 1985. So literally, 30 years almost to his exact date of drafting, Randy Johnson is headed to Cooperstown. Again, another man that put in work. And with everybody talking about how steroids has kind of changed the scope and the timber of how those trying to get into the Hall of Fame indeed get in there, as we continue on this edition of the ALR Express presented by Sowers Ford Lincoln Mercury of Michigan City. You would think somebody as tall as Randy Johnson would probably have jumped in there by now. Randy Johnson, 6'9". He didn't need it. He didn't need them. You're that naturally gifted at that size. Do what you do. And he was the top vote getter, 97.3%. Just missing the all-time high of 98.2. But a well-deserved induction. High time. He, along with his next former Expo, Pedro Martinez, and John Smoltz, all in on their very first ballot. 3 first ballot Hall of Famers in a 4-person class. That doesn't come along too often. Speaking of said Sir Pedro, the man who last pitched with Philadelphia, the latest Dominican to make the Hall of Fame. The man from Mano Guayabo spent 18 years in the big leagues. Played his college ball at a little Midwestern university called Ohio Dominican. Boy, are they jumping right about now. It's like, where in the world is the Ohio Dominican? Look, if I knew, I wouldn't be trying to ask you. But, yep, Ohio Dominican College is probably jumping at the bit right now because their alumnus is now a baseball Hall of Famer. You can't beat that at all. And believe it or not, Ohio Dominican is not that far from Ohio State in Columbus, Ohio, of all places. Here's the numbers on Sir Pedro. 476 appearances, 409 starts, 46 complete games, 17 shutouts, struck out 3,154 men with 219 wins and 3 saves, a lifetime ERA of 2.93, and a whip, that's walks and hits per innings pitched, of 1.05. Of course, he made his big name with Boston when they finally won the World Series back in 2004. But that had been the first time since, eons when they had won the World Series at that point. It was a 1.17 whip at that particular time. His career best was in 2000 when he was a .74 whip and a 1.74 ERA. Those were his career best, which allowed him a WAR, wins above replacement, at 11.4. 3-time Cy Young Award winner and the MVP of the All-Star Game back in 1999. 18 years in the big leagues. Actually came up with the L.A. Dodgers of all people. Can you believe that? Undrafted even. So here's this undrafted kid out of Ohio Dominican from the Dominican Republic. Spends his first 6 seasons in the National League with Los Angeles and then Montreal before jumping over to Boston and having that great run there. Even had a few good seasons with the Mets. 2009 was his last year. He pitched with the Phillies, but not that much. But good to see Pedro in. Pedro was a good pitcher. Very good pitcher. Enjoyed watching the lefty do his thing. The skirmish he had with the late Don Zimmer was like, Pedro! No, hombre! No. No, we don't do that, dog. Man, that was a melee if there ever was one. But congratulations, Pedro. And finally, from the big bad Atlanta Braves, John Smoltz. 213 wins, lifetime ERA of 3.33, just under 3,100 strikeouts. The only pitcher in the history of Major League Baseball with 200 wins as a starter and 100 saves as a reliever. 21 years in the bigs, all but 2 with Atlanta. Came into the big straight out of high school. The Warren, Michigan native. Drafted also in 1985. So we have 2 1985 draftees going to the Hall literally 30 years after being called up to the big show. Whereas Randy Johnson was second round, John Smoltz was 22nd round by his home state Detroit Tigers. However, he didn't make it into the big show until 1988 when he made 12 starts with Atlanta. And he was a part of that big run in the 90s where Atlanta just couldn't stop winning the National League East. He's made 4 All-Star appearances. And is the only one of this bunch to have won a Cy Young and a Silver Slugger. How about that? 96 Cy Young, 97 Silver Slugger as the best hitting pitcher in the National League. Amazing. He was the MVP of the 1992 National League Championship Series, won the Relief Man Award in 2002, the Roberto Clemente Humanitarian Award in 2005. In his last year in the bigs, he split time between Boston and St. Louis, both times as a reliever, never getting above .75 ERA in both stops. There you have it, folks. This year's Hall of Fame class for baseball. Now, the significant omission, the man who just missed getting in, who probably will get in next year, is Mike Piazza. Kid from New York just missed it by 5 percentage points. 28 votes short. But he's got the numbers, folks. Kid's got the numbers. 427 home runs. That is the most by a catcher. 1,335 RBIs with a on-base percentage of .377. The kid from Norristown, Pennsylvania, 16 years in the bigs. Started out with L.A. I believe that's the team that drafted him. Was the 1993 Rookie of the Year. 10-time Silver